see you guys in the dark.
My freshman year of high school, I had no friends and was super impressionable. I was desperate for friends and a stupid romantic, so I believed a lot of crazy stuff. Think Twilight, making believe vampires were real. I don't remember how I came across this group, but I eventually met a group of kids who claimed to be Wiccan, and that they were reborn werewolves. They said I was one of the pack, so being desperate, I believed them wholeheartedly. But they played me, finding out I was a hopeless romantic desperate for some guarantee that I could find love, and used that. They said I had a husband in my last life, someone I was super close to, and that he would be reincarnated as well. I was over the moon. I had someone out there who had to love me. So I stayed, did what they asked, and generally acted as their pet from my freshman into sophomore year. Whenever I showed signs of wanting to leave, they would tell me stories about my husband, how he was rich and kind. It kept me there way longer than I should have been. I don't blame them. They were not doing it maliciously. They just wanted me to be their friends. One of the girls from the group had theater class with me. She was a bit big, but we became quick friends. But pretty early on, our relationship was off. She didn't like when I talked to my middle school friends, tried to make friends outside of her in theater, and would bad talk anyone I liked. It didn't hit me then, but this was her trying to corner me. One night, she invited me over for a sleepover. She said we could use some magic to find my husband. I couldn't say no. I showed up at her house. I think we watched movies for a bit, then we went to her room. She pulled out a box with a thin jar of pink dust, turned out to be pixie stick, and a razor blade. She handed me both and told me, "You need to cut yourself and drip it onto the dust. It will be the catalyst to find your love." I was freaked out. I hated pain. But my dumbass wanted to find my Prince Charming. So I ended up picking at an old scab after I couldn't bring myself to actually cut myself with a razor. She shook the dust, said some nonsense stuff, then ate the pixie dust with my blood on it. I was obviously disgusted. She said he was still in the spirit world, not reincarnated yet, which scared me. She then said, "Don't worry, I can have his souls take over my body, and you two can talk." She pretended to get possessed. We talked for a few moments, then she tried to kiss me. I was not comfortable with that at all. She kept trying to do so through the night, saying she was my husband, so it was normal. She also tried to touch me multiple times in uncomfortable places, and I thought a few times of leaving. But she said her parents were asleep, so if I left, she said they would get angry at her. Finally, I said I was tired. I decided to curl up on the floor and sleep out the night, then leave first thing in the morning. She said that we would be sleeping with her in her bed. I was so scared. I gave every excuse I could think to not sleep in her bed. She dismissed them all. She made me sleep on the side towards the wall, cutting me off from an escape. I stayed up most of the night, staring at the wall, praying she didn't do anything to me. I don't know if she ever did. I forced myself to sleep after a few hours. I woke up first, something I did since I was little at sleepovers, and I called my mom to get me immediately. I snuck out, left a bunch of my stuff, things I brought to play with her, and left. I didn't tell anyone. When I saw her next, she acted like nothing happened. She didn't refer to any of it again, and she continued to be my friend because I didn't believe anything had been wrong, because no one else reacted to it. When the senior kids left, it was just her and I. She got openly more toxic to other people in theater, and by proxy, so was I. Eventually, she was sick one day, and I made other friends. They helped me get away, or gather the courage to not be with her. When I told her I didn't want to be friends, she threw a fit and spread a bunch of rumors about me around. I had trouble making friends in the theater after that. I'm in college now. I saw her once after high school. I didn't want to stay when we met with a mutual friend. I have problems sleeping in the same bed as other people, even if they are friends or siblings. I have problems staying overnight with people and getting too close to most girls, even though I am pan. I told my most recent partner, and he was very understanding. He worked with me to get over my fear of sleeping in the same bed with him.
It's been years since everything happened. We were kids then, but everything is still fresh in my mind as a now 20-year-old. So I was that weird kid. Goth, fat, band nerd, loved Invader Zim, MCR, chickens, just an easy target, I guess. But he was also part of this subgroup of alternative kids in the sea of angst and image issues that was middle school. We went to a school that was predominantly thug and gangster, but everyone seemed to be fairly calm and coexisted with each other very well. I wasn't able to fit in anywhere, not among the goth, emo, or the punk kids, not with the anime group, not with band kids either. I just never felt like I ticked enough boxes in one particular group to feel welcomed, or included enough to stay. For the first 2 years, I would sneak away during the lunch rush, and hide in the library when it was dead. I would read Goosebumps, or R.L. Stine, Fear Street Collection, or I would just hide away on the computer, and print out coloring pages of GIR, and just save them in a folder. After a while, the librarian kind of got the hint, and just welcomed me every time I walked in, and let me stay until the lunch bell. I didn't want to even remotely have the option of getting my tray of food, and standing around awkwardly, looking for a place to sit when other kids robotically gravitate towards tables that they've claimed with their friends, not giving a second thought as to where they would have to go. I would even go so far as to have my parents drop me off at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning when my mom would drive to work. That was the time the custodians would do their walks, and they would see me and let me in so I wouldn't stay outside in the dark. Then I would wait by the band hall until my director showed up, and he would let me practice all morning until I have to leave around first period. All the kids standing around and mingling with each other while I just stood there with my backpack by the stairs. No one would even walk in my direction. That's just something that I didn't want to go through anymore. I just felt so lonely being surrounded by all these people, and it made me despise myself. What did I do wrong that just pushed people away so much? How did I come to be this person wallowing in self-sorrow so young? I really never got my answers. I guess peer influence is a worse thing than I imagined. That was just 3 years of my life, and how I experienced this time, and how already out of place I felt existing there. He was this real big dude. We'll call him Miles. Twice my height and weight, but was loud and cool. Was friends with all these older kids. So in turn, all the kids our age really liked being around him because he was so fucking neat. He liked cool punk music, listened to new hardcore music coming out like A Day to Remember and Comeback Kid. I remember the first time that I saw him. He was in the hallway talking to some kids I went to elementary school with, who also transferred to the same school as me. They all were wearing black shirts with Converse or Vans, and I thought that they looked so cool together. And as I walked past, I hear MCR. What a fucking poser. My face went beet red, and I just kept walking. I had saved up all my birthday money and gone to Hot Topic to buy some pins and patches I thought were cool to decorate my backpack with. I was just excited to express myself and the shit that I liked. That was our first encounter, and boy, was it grand. We had a few classes together, and I made sure to sit as far away from him or anyone else as humanly possible. I would have to brush past him occasionally, and tried to make myself as small as I could. I'd carry my backpack in front of me so that he wouldn't see my pins or my patches, or take the long way around if I heard him from a distance. But one day, I was walking to band, and I waved hi to a girl hanging around him, who was always nice to me in elementary school. She smiled back as I waved. Then he looked at me and gets in front of my face. Starts yelling at me, "Fucking emo kids! Fuck you. Fuck you. As all the other kids laughed, even that girl that just smiled at me. And again I looked down and just kept walking past, as if I didn't hear him. As if he didn't just yell so loud in my face that he got spit on me. As if I wasn't just shaking in my skin because I was so scared. I had to wait to wipe the spit off of my face because I didn't want them to think that I was crying. So I walked to my next class with this guy's nasty bulldog slobber all over me. And then I went to band. And then I went home. Then it was a great day, Mom. I went to my room, locked my door. And that was the day that I started self-harm. I used the razors from my pencil sharpener. Stopped eating altogether until I got sick. Started wearing long sleeves all the time, even in the summer, to hide my cuts. And I just really changed. My entire mentality was ruined. And I couldn't even look people in the eyes anymore. So school is in full swing of things now. More projects, assignments, and concerts start to come up. We're all pretty overwhelmed. My social studies class had this particular project coming up where we had to buy a binder and designate it specifically for that project. We would do research over a certain historical figure of our choosing, print out articles or photos, write out notes, and just put everything in that binder, then keep it in a big bookcase in that classroom that was divided up by different periods and classes. And since I was in the library every day, I had the extra time to work on my projects, so my binder was getting really full. I tried doing my project over Mark Anthony, solely because I was going to make a joke about how funny it was that a singer had the same name as a figure of the Roman Republic. I had also finally convinced my mom to buy me one of those binders with the clear front pockets, so I could decorate it with pictures and cutouts of Gerard Way, Pete Wentz, J.T. Woodruff, Sinister Gates, and yes, of course, Gurr, and Minnie Moose. Every month when my mom got paid, she would buy me just one J14, Tiger Beat, or alternative press magazine of my choice. And from there I would cut out any pictures I thought were worth saving. Then I would staple them to my wall, or put them in my binder. As I worked so hard on that thing, it made me happy to see my little collage come together so that I could post it on MySpace and save it to my albums. Once the vanity portion was done, I was mostly done with my research and piecing together all of my information. There was maybe half a week left to go before the project was due. So I go home, return to school like normal, and then it's time for my social studies period again. I walk in the classroom, go straight to grab my binder to finish working on my project, and as I pull it from its spot, all my little pictures fall out. It's half the weight it was when I left it the day before. I turn it over to look. Someone had taken scissors and a Sharpie and cut up the front plastic pockets and my pictures. Then wrote poser, emo bitch, loser all over everything. Even worse, more than half of my project information was missing and completely lost. So I was just standing there, reading this with a shredded up binder, shaking and on the verge of tears. Embarrassed to hell because I'm too stupid to move, as other kids come and grab their binders and can clearly see mine. I sat there the entire class and tried to work with whatever I had left, which wasn't much. That day I decided to take my binder home and keep it in my possession at all times. I walked out of class after the bell rang, binder in my hands, and there he was, just standing there with a group of guys, seemingly waiting to see my reaction. And when I saw him, I just began to cry. I've never seen someone laugh as hard at someone else as he did that day. I never knew I could be so funny. He probably saw my Mark Anthony joke. That day I decided I was going to end my life. The more I sat and thought about it, the harder it got. What have I done to this guy to make him hate me so much? I couldn't even be around groups of people anymore because what if someone was his friend, and he had them come up to me, do or say something to me in front of all those other people, just like he did. I just didn't want to chance anything anymore. I didn't want to live in fear, so I decided I'd rather not live at all. As I was writing out my letters to my family, I became more and more emotional. First the letter to my grandparents, then the one to my mom, and then I broke down in a sobbing mess when I started to think about my little sister and how she would grow up one day with this letter forever in her mind. And oh God, even worse. What if she was the one who found me bleeding to death and cold as sin? I couldn't handle the idea in my head. That's what stopped me, I think. My little sister saved my life without knowing it. She's 20 years old now, and I've still never told her. I'm just glad I didn't go through any of that. I told myself that I could push through the pain, and I would just keep cutting to put up with it. I swear that I could go on forever, about the times he put shit in my chairs, like the time that he put black paint on it, so that it would bleed in, and I wouldn't see it until after I sat and got back up, or even had other people put shit in my chairs. How he would brush past my shoulder with such strength that it knocked me back, or knocked my backpack off of my shoulders, ruining my stuff. Just made my life a complete nightmare. Just to turn around and want to fuck me in high school when I dropped all my weight. Got a little more cool and got over caring about what everyone else thought about me. Funny how that works, right? High school was fairly calm, and I could always avoid him. I always even ate lunch. I never had to deal with the same shit again, and I was glad. It had already ruined my sense of social safety and caused me so much pain. Fast forward, I had just turned 19. An ex-friend of mine tells me that he sees Miles on the corner of a gas station asking for change, that he looks horribly skinny and sick, kind of like an addict. For years I would pass by that area when I was around and try to see him. A fucked up part of me really needed to see him in that state. It's terrible, I know, but I just really wanted to witness this full circle of bullshit. But I never got around to it. He was never there when I passed by, so I just actually grew tired and gave up. Fast forward a few more years, and I find out that he's dead of a drug overdose. A friend of mine breaks the news to me. After a few seconds to process it, I can only say that it sucks, and she looks at me with the oddest face. I've never really told anyone about what he actually put me through, how it fucked with my head for years to come, how I experienced those 3 years of middle school fun. He was just too cool. No one could tell him shit because fuck them. He'd never listen. He always did whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted. He was too cool, and now he's dead because of his own choices. I went to read his online obituary, and read some of the people's comments about how big of a smile he had, how kind and warm he was, and how he was such a cool dude. Yeah, sure. I saw that big ol' smile the day that I thought I was going to kill myself. I noticed how warm he was when he got so close to my face. I could feel the heat of his breath as he yelled at me. Sure, he was cool, and now he's really cold. A part of me wants to feel bad, only because he was so young and wasted the opportunity of life that he was given. But a majority of me just doesn't care, and I'm still not sure if I should care or not. I had a dream about him recently, and that made me want to share my story. Finally, in my dream, he was just talking to me, and I was staring at him, but I couldn't speak. He was telling me about his car he found in a lot, and how he knew a guy who would design the hell out of it and turn it into one badass show car. I have no idea what that dream meant, but Miles, I really want you to stay out of my head forever.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and hit the bell for notifications on future videos and become a stalker of the night. And I'll see you next time.